And council members presently receive $50 annually as a supplement to that pay. And council members now receive annually a longevity payment, which is $25 for the first year in office, with $5 added for each year of service thereafter. That's current.
And that would, if you were to adopt those numbers, that would restate the current level of compensation.
Yeah. And could I just suggest that whatever numbers that the council chooses to go in section 1, that the first alternate be dispensed with, that $50 supplement, that would erase a question. You could add it to the 400 and the 700 up on top and just not have a supplement. But the longevity pay, that's up to the council. I think that's all right if the council wishes to continue with that.
Are you saying though, between now and 2015, it's going to be as it is now?
That's correct. It is.
Even though MTAS disagrees with that?
Well, it's precisely because MTAS, their legal folks, believe that the council doesn't have authority to either raise or lower salaries during terms of office. And the letter that Mr. Hensley gave you, Mr. Brooks, addresses that, and he makes a good argument. He concedes that there's a difference of opinion among lawyers for cities in Tennessee, but he thinks that you don't have authority to do that, and I was simply being conservative in going with his opinion.
But he believes, in his opinion, that we shouldn't take anything over what our salary is, $400.
That's right, but that's the paradox. He doesn't think you should, but he also doesn't think you can change it until all members of this council have gone through a subsequent election. Because that would be increasing your own pay.
So, do we know if it's legal or not?
Do we know
If it's legal to take anything over $400?
Oh, no, I think that's an arbitrary number. I don't, yes, I think you can take more than $400. You mean in adopting this new ordinance?
No, I mean now.
Well,
Up till 2015, if we continue taking the Christmas bonuses and stuff, what's that? Do you really know if that is the right thing legal?
the only way we would actually know is for a case with the precise facts being decided, and I've found none in Tennessee. It's a measure, we've discussed this before, but it's a measure of whether or not the pay that the council receives, the salary, is comparable to what the governing body of the county receives. And that's a judgment issue. I know it's very close, but that's just a judgment issue.
It just bothers me that I asked them for that opinion, and we ask MTAS for a lot of opinions, their opinion is, for Mr. Hensley, it's not the right thing to do. That's what I'm saying.
That's what he's saying. It may not be right, but we can't change it. And we can't change it, we can't improve it, we can't up it, we can't lower it. We're caught. Until 2050, as my son says, and I don't like it, is what it is. I'm sorry.
It is what it is. Well, I'm not, because I give mine back because they told me it wasn't legal to take it, so I don't take it from the taxpayers.
Well then, what we'll do when we pass this, we'll answer all those questions, and in 2015, that will be right.
But this is an effort to resolve the issue. I think that if we adopt the ordinance, it's the best move forward to put that to rest. So please do give us feedback, and we'll get that ready for adoption as soon as we get a consensus and we're ready to go. The next thing in your packet, you'll see a memorandum from the city engineer, Mr. Brown, about the stormwater detention policy. You'll note that we've had some differences of opinions among consulting engineers about our regulations concerning stormwater. It's led to construction of some detention facilities that may have been more than were required and intended. This memorandum, if is intended to highlight those things, bring us into compliance or applicable regulations with some surrounding jurisdictions. After you've had a chance to look at this, if you agree that this is a better clarification, we would come back to you at your next meeting with a resolution to more formally put this in place. But it's our intent to provide some more clear direction to make it a little easier for consulting engineers on small projects where they don't have to go and design and construct very extensive detention facilities. But if you have any questions or comments, Jeff's the man to ask, because he knows much better about where the rainwater's going and something supposed to go. If there are no questions, no concerns, you can follow up with Jeff in the interim, but it would be our intention to put the resolution in your agenda for next time for action to formally endorse these modifications. The next thing in your packet I want to bring to your attention is a memorandum from the Crossroads Partnership, the Downtown Main Street Group. I've been in discussion with them about asking them to operate and manage our farmers market downtown. As you know, it's previously been done by our code enforcement officer. With a reorganization and change in direction of code enforcement, and also reorganization and change in direction from our downtown group, it felt like an opportune time to explore that. The Crossroads group has reviewed it and is willing to consider moving forward with this. I think it's a good marriage in terms of letting them tie that to downtown promotions, downtown operations. The concept would be that they would manage the permits, they would manage the policing of the regulation, and in return for that, they would receive the revenue from the permits. I think it's a good way to go. If you don't have objections, again, we will prepare a resolution to that effect for your consideration at the next meeting. If you have questions or concerns, I'll be happy to respond to them now or during the next 2 weeks.
I'd like to know what our outstanding balance is that the city is obligated for our investment there.
At this point in time, we bought, if I recall, about $3,000 worth of tents. We have not yet collected enough to repay those as we intended. And as you know, we've had some storm damage that took some out. But at this point in time, we did not recover all the costs we had we laid out for those tents. But I think we'd be better off having these folks manage it for us than trying to put it on the code for us.
May I ask?
What do you mean by the downtown management? Who's involved?
Well, of course, the Crossroads Board is the folks that manage the overall direction of the Main Street program. The staff person deciding that would be Todd Morgan.
And because you have a staff person, then we have a direct liaison back to the council, it's not.
That's right.
Too.
And you're on the,
I'm on also this.
you have two people. That's a good board, you
It's an
know.
excellent board. Our downtown is so critical.
We've grown on.
But I truly believe that board is a good place to put the market in terms of paying attention to it, growing it into what it can be, and making sure that they comply with the regulations we've set out to make it benefit the community, not detriment. So if you don't have any more objections, I'm going to prepare a resolution for your consideration next meeting. I included in your packet also some brochures about metal detectors. Based on the unfortunate way that the world is anymore, it's my belief, and I believe I have the concurrence of the police and fire chief, that we ought to consider increased security for this room for public meetings. The cost of metal detectors is about $4,000 to $5,000. It would allow us to screen people and protect both the people attending meetings here in this room. It is not an unusual thing in public meetings anymore. Unfortunately, that's the way our society is going. And I would like to be able to bring that back to you your next time to spend some of the council's contingency to put that in place. I believe the police chief indicated that in addition to the detector itself, we would probably need a wand to, if someone fails to, or sets off the alarm, we would be able to use the wand to identify if there were problems. It's something I feel like that is a responsible thing to do, and I wanted to educate you about it now, get your feedback, and we'd like to move forward with that at your next meeting. I do want to report to you, I've been actively trying to promote the city's Facebook page, and the past week or so we passed 1,000 friends or likes on our page. We are being much more effective now in getting the word out to that community about what's going on in town, getting feedback from folks in the community about things. It's a way of reaching a segment of the community that you don't always see, and I think it's been very effective. And I'm proud we've got over that benchmark. I've been watching the 1,000 coming up for some time now, and I'm just pleased that we've crossed that threshold. And finally, I just want to remind council and let the audience know, following the regular meeting, we do have a brief executive session for consultation with our attorney. We may return after that consultation for action in the meeting, so there is a possibility we will return and take action. And I apologize for the length, but that is the conclusion of my report.
Thank you, Tony. At this time, item 11 is communications and petitions. This is a portion of the meeting where members of the audience may speak to subject and guidelines provided. In essence, what we're saying, if you want to talk about anything to the council, bring anything up to us that is not on the agenda, you may do so at this time. We'd ask that if the person wishes to address council, that they come to the podium, give their name and address. Please address your remarks to the chair only. There is a limitation of 3 minutes on any comments. This time, the microphone is open for any comments to council.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Gwendolyn Holden, and I live at 2343 Sulphur Springs Road. And I want to compliment and tell you how beautiful that I think downtown is. I was down there yesterday, and I love the shop, mine. That is a beautiful shop. And I'm glad to see that arts and crafts is coming into our town. As growing up as a little girl, I was telling my friend that was with me today, I've lived here all my life. And I think Morristown is prettier now than it has ever been. And it makes me happy. And it makes me feel good to come downtown. And I'm going to start coming every Tuesday and just enjoy my shop because I like it. And I just want you to know that there are some good things in Morristown too. I don't just think I'm bad things. I know there's good things too. And I think Morristown is really going to get pretty. I mean, I think it's going to be a beautiful town that people are going to want to come to see because I like looking at it. It's beautiful. And I thank you for everything and whoever's done it. I appreciate them doing that. It makes me feel good.
Thank you for those comments. Are there any other comments?
My name is Carl Murphy. I live at 1101 West Rose. I'm a taxpayer and a voter. Mayor, sir, I'm sure 5 here are proud of themselves with what they and Mr. Miller pushed through Nashville last Tuesday. I also sat on the front row. I visited many representatives' offices, some for, some against, some to blue light. Most, if not all, said they did not belong. This did not belong in Nashville. It's a local problem that needed to be settled in Morristown. 2 questions that showed up, struck a note with me, were, why would anyone serve 34 years and want to serve any longer? Why isn't there a limit to terms served? Only one rep during the session showed an unprofessional attitude towards citizens standing up for their American and Morristown voter rights. Found out he was one of the Chiefs Braves west of here, and that pretty much set it off. If I had not seen his burr haircut, I would have thought it was the Chief speaking.
Mayor,
Even Miller showed respect as he asked the chairman.
Point of order, hold on.
No, just because I think I watched that presentation, and, you know, there was decorum that was requested by the chairman. A name was mentioned at one time, and remarks were made about an individual, and if they're in Nashville saying that's not appropriate, I think we ought to say that's not appropriate here.
I agree.
Because
You say there were names said?
there was a name said at one time, I think it was the meeting before, when we had some representatives from Nashville speaking to the House Committee on Economics and Local Government, and someone from a contingent that was speaking at the podium mentioned a name and then made some remarks. And the chairman of that committee in Nashville said, we do not use names, we do not refer to people there. So I think even without using a name, we know, and he's talking about a state representative right here.
Well, that's not a name though, but I see your point. You're saying the names he's using should be either position.
Well, he's doing a physical description of an individual, which is uncalled for in every way. You're alluding to who that individual is by description. You may not be mentioning their name. And I don't think it's appropriate for us to all sit here and listen to it.
All right, now, name I'll agree with, and I think the chair agrees with that. Now, as far as calling someone's position, that's the only way you can distinguish them from other people. So I don't see that we could eliminate that, Kay, but I do believe that names probably.
Physical
All right, and
description.
physical description, if they can be avoided, would be good.
May I ask a question?
Well, since we're addressing what you're saying, I guess it would
You
be.
should not have the same rights as your local paper has.
I think
We put a
that,
name in it. I
Well,
did.
you know, this is not a Q&A for him to talk to us, that's been said in
I
the
understand it's
policy.
not a Q&A.
So
sir.
he needs to address that to you,
And
and
he-
actually, I just don't
and he
think,
is.
I think we need to take a vote, I don't think you should be able to address any questions up here, because that's the way we've established.
That's
This
what
is
we
not
set it up,
a
but at
Q&A
this point,
board.
we had a point of order, and I was explaining to Kay and trying to figure out exactly what she didn't want.
This is
Madam
your,
Chair,
this
I'm
is not
sorry,
your
sir.
meeting, this is our meeting. So
Sure.
if we have a disagreement here, I'm gonna raise a point of order,
I'm
and we're
trying
going
to
to vote on.
I'm trying to clear up what Kay's question is. And that's the point of a chairman, and that's exactly what
And you're
I'm
letting
doing.
him ask questions which is against our general prescribed rules.
I'm trying to find out for sure what Kay wants, so that we can tell Mr. Murphy what is allowed. Now, that's what the chair is supposed to do, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So at this point, what I will do is say, Mr. Murphy, if you would, refrain from physical descriptions of individuals, all right? And if possible, go by position rather than name. Is that pretty much?
I wouldn't mention town, I really seriously.
Well, I don't think towns are gonna be a great issue. I think that names is, and I don't believe that that's a rule in the House either. So at this point, we'll go with what you objected to. It does have a point. And Mr. Murphy, if you would continue your remarks, and you go ahead and start the time.
Even our representative showed respect as he asked chairman to let the mayor speak. Council 5 should not be so proud, as some know, that if there was a roll call, the count would have been closer than you could imagine. I'm sure you know the word blue light. The letter that's coming out is about 2 weeks late and after the fact. Voters will never know the real results, as now all Morristown knows what the Council 5 and the representative wants. You know his name. You must know this is not over. You may have won the first round with your ace in the hole, running your errands. I hope you know about the Battle of the Bulge in December of 1944, and the name Hitler. Hitler won the first round. Then God opened the clouds, and the light shined down, and the rest is history. Thank you, Master.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other comments come before council?
It's Linda Noe, 2343 Joe Stevens Road. What I'd like to ask is that you consider taking, preferably from the city administrator's contingency, money to go on and put cameras in here, and let's start that process. The other item, which I've mentioned a few times privately to some of you, is doing as the county does. Mr. LaBelle would know that. They scan in the packets so that people can access those. You've had people before saying, what's on the agenda? Well, they can get an agenda now, but when it says, you know, voting on a change to item 1-206, that just doesn't mean anything to anybody until they can see what it is, or the contract you're voting on. So with your technology, you actually have more technological ability and personnel than the county does. You could scan in your packets and take care of the cameras. I think that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other comments come before council? Hearing none, at this time, we will take a recess and go into executive session and come back out after the session.